Today, I want to show you behind the scenes of how I record and edit and distribute slash repurpose my content by myself. If you are a solopreneur or you're just getting started in your business and you can't quite invest in a large team, or maybe you have a team member, but they don't have editing experience, it is so freaking easy to create core content today. And I want to just show you exactly how I do it using one of my favorite tools, Descript. Now, I had to kind of think a little bit about how I was going to show you this video. So I am going to link the microphone and the web camera I use in the description and show you behind the scenes of the platform itself. And so I guess that brings me to the very first part of this process. For years, I used a professional vlogging camera. It was a Canon GX7. And I really loved using this camera for a really long time. But to be honest, I'm not super techie when it comes to recording, when it comes to finding the right angle or the lighting. I really struggle with this. So I always needed outside help. My husband, for many years, would help me set up my recordings, record, and edit. And it just was such a process. So much so that I was starting to contemplate if I should keep recording video. And there were actually many times when I would record and then it would just be so much and we would stop. And I wanted something that allowed me to be a little bit more consistent. So I got this idea earlier this year, actually, that if I could just set up a really simple setup in my office where I could sit down anytime I'm feeling inspired, hit record, and be able to just knock out content, I knew that I would allow myself to be more consistent. And we know this to be true. A lot of the reasons why people aren't consistent with their content is because they don't have a system or a structure in place to allow them to be consistent. I was having to film around someone else's schedule rather than filming around my own. So I started doing a lot of digging, and I was already using Descript in my business to take the videos that my husband was editing and turn them into blog posts. Well, the second that I discovered that you could record directly inside of Descript, that's when I knew that I had found my platform. So Descript is a platform I talk about quite a bit because, again, now I'm using it to record podcast content, which I record video and audio. I use it to record training content like this one, which just specifically goes out on YouTube. We use it to transcribe and turn my video itself into a blog post super easily. I'm going to show you how to do that today. I also use it to pull out a YouTube description. I have used it to get my chapters for my YouTube video. And you can even use it to splice shorter versions of your video to use for social media. There are so much more that you can do, but that is primarily what I am using with the platform. So the second I knew that that's where I was going to record, there were three things that I wanted to get in place. Number one, my microphone. Now, I have been using the same microphone for years. It is a Yeti. I'm going to show it to you. This one right here. The Yeti Blue is a microphone that I lovingly got for Christmas when I first started as an entrepreneur. I really think any podcast mic could work, but the Yeti has worked for me for so many years, and I basically just always have it sitting on my desk ready to rock and roll. The second thing that I needed to do was invest in a camera. Now, there was a lot of testing with this because in the beginning, I was convinced that I still needed to use my existing camera. I needed to use a high quality, expensive camera to make this happen. But I ran into a lot of obstacles actually taking the footage from the camera and putting it directly into Descript. So after testing quite a bit of cameras, I landed on the Logitech Brio. And I have got to tell you, I get compliments and questions all of the time from people in my industry who also have podcasts, who are also creating YouTube content, asking me which camera I use. This camera was less than $200. I think it was about $170 at the time. And I absolutely love it. It is so easy to just hook up directly to my computer. And then as soon as I go to record, which I'm going to show you how I do that in just a minute, I just choose my camera and I'm ready to rock and roll. It's also improved the quality of my coaching calls as well, which I really love because those are all recorded, and my group calls inside of the academy. So this was hands down, after a lot of testing, the one that I wanted to go with. It was a 4K camera, and then filming in Descript, you do have some options to like blur the background. The third thing that I knew that I needed was a light. Luckily, I already had this on hand. And again, I will link it below, but I have a simple photo light that I use for photos a lot when I take branded photos, and I have it just set up ready to rock and roll. And so I think the trick here for me was definitely just having this stuff always ready to go. I have a tripod stand, which I think is totally optional. You could very easily just put your camera directly onto your screen. Actually, right now I have it on my second monitor because of the height, because I'm going to be recording a behind the scenes video for you, but I don't move it. And that allows me to sit down whenever I can find pockets of time, which as a full-time entrepreneur and a homeschool mom, I've got to work really hard to find these pockets of time. And sometimes when I have them, they're in the morning when I'm maybe not super motivated, or later in the evening when I need just like a 30 minutes at 11 a.m. I can come in here, quickly record a piece of content, and then I'm ready to go. The other thing that makes this so easy is that I can record directly in Descript. And so a lot of times what you're doing is you're actually hurting the quality of your video because you're recording on a camera and then you're exporting that and then you're editing it and then you're exporting that again, either directly into YouTube or over to someone else who then has to import it. And it's a lot going on. I'm doing everything in one platform, and then I'm only exporting it and directly to YouTube it goes. And I think that's helped maintain a lot of the quality, which is really important to me as a content creator. Okay, so now that we have these basic logistics out of the way, let's do a little behind the scenes where I can show you what I am doing inside of Descript. Let's take a look at the very first part of this process. Now, I am inside of Descript. Now, I have the Descript application on my Mac. They do have a web version. I have not recorded in the web version, so just a heads up, if it looks a little different to you, that might be why. Now, the very first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go over to New Project, and then once in New Project, you're going to hit Video Project. Now, this is where if you did decide you wanted to record your content in a different application, you could easily upload it here. But what we're going to do is we are going to record directly into the platform. And I already shared the benefits of that, and it makes it just super easy for everything. So I'm going to hit record, and right away, it's going to give me a few options. Am I doing camera only? Am I doing a screen and camera? Am I recording with others? Is it audio only? Again, just go with camera, even if you're just doing a podcast, because you could take this video footage and repurpose it later on. You never know what you're going to want to do with that footage. So it's going to show me, and you're probably seeing a bunch of cameras, so I'm going to move this one. It's going to show what it's going to look like, my frame, all of that. I check, make sure it's good to go. And then on the right-hand side, you're going to see my options. So I already mentioned I use the Logitech Brio, and that is available right here. And then I have my microphone set up, and that's literally all I have to do. And now I'm going to record it into the script. I'm just going to say a few sentences so you can see how beautifully the transcript starts working, and then we'll use a previous video where I'll show you how to actually edit your transcript. Okay, so I'm going to turn that off. As you can see, it transcribed. Now that was a very, very short segment, so it happened really, really fast, but it's usually only taking 2 to maybe 5 minutes max, depending on how long the video is, to give me a full transcript. So once you have the content recorded or uploaded, just like I showed you in the last clip, now you get to go through and you can edit. The thing that I love about Descript is that it gives you a full transcript, so you don't have to go through and listen to yourself talk for an extended period of time. So there's a couple things that I want to show you. Now, I'm not a heavy editor, and I'm not going to encourage you to be a heavy editor either, but I want to show you some basic things that I like to use for my videos. And we're specifically doing a podcast episode right now, so there is very little title cards or anything like that. But it's super easy to add them if that's something that you want to do. So there are a couple things that I always add to my videos. Number one is going to be the intro for my podcast. Now, you're going to notice I like to edit my video first, and then I export it as an audio for the podcast. So I'm going to show you how to do that because it's going to pull the audio from this file that I add anyway. So all you really have to do is find the area where you want that. So I do like a little introduction here. Go right to the end, hit enter, and then it's going to say add file. You're going to hit add file. Now I have mine saved on my desktop, so I can do like a little search, and then I'm going to look for my podcast intro MP4 because I'm doing the video, as I mentioned. I'm going to hit open, and it's going to add it right into that spot. So I can continue on and edit and do all of those things, but you can see it's already loading right here on the side, and it's just transcribing, which takes just a little bit more time. So I'm going to let that do its thing. Another thing that I like to do, and I've kind of already added it here, but I'm going to show you, is to add a GIF layer. So all you have to do is highlight. If you want to add a layer to anything, whether that is a shape or text or a sound or a GIF, they have great GIFs as well, which I like to use for my YouTube videos a lot. You just need to highlight the text that you're going to want that layer to be on. And then you can go ahead and hit add layer. Now I already have this uploaded, but it's a title card, and I created this in Canva, and then I just saved it as a GIF. So it makes it super easy to add to my file. Now I'm going to make sure that it's going to the right spot actually, because I highlighted too much. There we go. Add layer. I'm going to add it here. It's going to say, you sure you want to add this? And I'm going to say, yes, I do. And so we're going to have that there. Now I find that adding these in the transcript and editing that way just works really well for my brain. But if at any time you want to use the timeline, you can use the timeline down here, and you can go ahead and, highlight sections and add additional layers as well. So there's actually a way, here it is. If I expand this up, you'll see, I had already added one, so I'll just go ahead and delete that. And then you can go ahead and add things here by just hovering over and then right clicking, and then you can add layer. So that's a way to do it. I personally like to use the transcript. So now when I go here to play this, it's going to have my title, right? It's going to be my intro. And then when I have this piece here, it's going to show that image that pops up at the bottom. So they have some really great things, but like something like this that you might want to make in Canva, it's super easy. Just save it as a GIF or a PNG, and then you can overlay it. Now, let's say hypothetically, I'm not going to use it for this video, but I wanted to add some text to the screen, maybe right here where I share a URL. All I would do is I would highlight it, I would hit add layer, and then going to the main screen here, you'll see all the options. So you can add another recording, you can add files, which is what I just did. You could add captions on it, text like we talked about. Shapes are ones that I use a lot. Like I said, I really love stickers and GIFs. You can add images, so much stuff. Sound effects, I love a good sound effect. So those are all options over here, and it just makes it super easy. So let's say I just wanted to add some text. I'll choose the text tool. It's going to add it onto my video. I'm going to go ahead and put the URL, which was this. I was like, what did I say? And then you can choose which font you like. It's going to default to the one that you normally use, which is another thing that makes my editing so much easier. And then you can adjust the size here. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. And then it does this funky formatting thing. So all you need to do is like click out of there, go in, and then just expand your box. Super easy. I'm going to go ahead and drag that here to the center, and then I can also add some fun effects to it. On the side, I could add a background. I can make it all caps. We could fill in and actually make, like change the color if I wanted to. So lots of different things you can do here. Background, I like that because then it like stands out. So you can even add automation. So adding little things like text, or if you're sharing like 5 tips on something and you want each tip to come up on the screen, super easy to do. Now I'm going to go through and I'm just going to start editing this podcast. Again, I do very light editing. I like to pause and look at my notes, so I just have to highlight and delete that space. I've already gone through and done a good amount of this, so I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and show you what this actually looks like when I want to cut something. So this was a section where I was just like talking and it didn't make a lot of sense, and so I want to cut that out. So all I have to do is take my cursor, highlight this area, and hit delete, and it's gone, and it clips it from the video. And so now it's going to flow beautifully. And I actually don't like that long pause, so all I have to do is put my cursor there, and I'm just going to delete that pause. I can pick up on AI. If you want to grow. And I'm done. And then I'm just, again, I can just go through and do that throughout. I do like when you take like breaks, it shows you that, which is fantastic. There is a way you can use Underlord. Now, Underlord is their AI tool. I'm going to show you how to do it in just a few minutes with the blog. But you basically are going to hit Underlord, and then you can actually have it remove filler words or clean it up if you want to do that. I personally don't do that. I just like my podcast to be a little bit more casual, but you absolutely could. And it's a really great way to kind of trim down your editing as well. So that is a really great tool over here in Underlord. So I'm going to finish updating this little bit here. There's another section where I know I just was talking gibberish.
What can I say? It's additional. All right, I'm going to go.
Sometimes this is the thing you're going to learn about me. I just record. You can always take it out. So I'm like, that's not really helpful. It's funny, but not that helpful. And so I'm just going to take that out as well. Again, I just highlight it and delete it. It's going to pull it to the bottom here. We've got all this. And then obviously there's going to be like a whole ending here, right? Where I hit stop. So I'm going to cut that out as well. Great. One more thing I wanted to show you, if you wanted to add sound, this is something that if you're doing like a YouTube video, it can be really helpful. But if you go here, you can highlight again. Remember, always highlight, hit add layer, and then you can scroll down and they have like sound effects and you can do like a ding noise or something. And then you can just add that in there if you want that piece to like stand out. So lots of really great editing options, super easy. Obviously I trimmed this for you, but all in all, I edited this in about 15 minutes, going through, cutting out any dead space. There was a part where I coughed, and so we took care of that. And I added my title card here. So my video is done and ready to go for YouTube. So I'm going to take my very first step, which is actually going to be publish. So I'm going to go over to publish. I'm going to hit export, and then I'm going to export my video. Current composition, max resolution, quality high, and we're going to hit export. That's going to take a little while, but while that is happening, I can go in and I can add any of the elements that I want to add for my podcast, which is really great. So I already mentioned that we're going to be exporting audio only for the podcast, but there's one little thing that I change with my podcast is I actually have an outro. And so I want to show you how I've done that. While this is exporting, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go ahead and add a file. And then I have my outro. Now, this is a pre-recorded outro that I created. I actually created it inside of Descript and then just exported it, but you could record it in GarageBand or anything else. And it's just the MP3. So I'm going to add that here. And so this is an audio only, just me talking, but I want to add some music to it. And so I just do that directly in Descript. So as you can see, it transcribed it all. Right now, it's going to sound like this.
Thanks so much for tuning.
Okay, obviously there's no video. And then you can just highlight it, add layer. We're not gonna look for sound effects, we're gonna look for music. And this is the one I always use, reggae is the answer. I love it so much. So you can sample like that. And then I just add it on there. It's gonna just add as much as I need for this section that I've highlighted. And then I should be able to just hit it.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode.
There you go. Now, one thing I do want to adjust with this is actually going to be the volume of it. So let me go to layer. So I've highlighted, if you missed that part, I clicked on the music icon and then I hit layer, and then I can go over here and I can actually take this down a little bit so that the music is going to be in the background.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another.
And there you go. And then that's easy. And so then that's done. And again, this intro video that I had, it's just going to pull the audio from that. So that works fine. And then as soon as this video is done, I can export this and I will have the podcast as well. So it took me, I think that was like 2 extra minutes to then do the podcast editing. And again, you don't have to have the intro and the outro. I just like having that, and it's super easy to do. Most of this stuff, like I said, is already created in Canva or pre-recorded. They're saved as files on my desktop, and I can easily add them in there. So while that video is exporting, one of the things that I do want to show you is actually going to be the next step that we take, which is all about the blog. I'm using Descript, surprise, surprise, to summarize the text that I have and help me turn it into a blog post. So this is step 1. So I'm going to go over to Underlord. Now, there's a lot of things that I actually do in Underlord. You can also use Underlord to start to generate your YouTube descriptions. I don't personally use it for anything SEO related. I do my research outside of that. I use it tool for YouTube called vidIQ or TubeBuddy. We could link both of those below if you want to check those out. They're extensions. You can type in the main points of your video, of your content, and it'll give you suggestions for keywords and tags on those platforms. As we know, optimizing for SEO is very, very important. But this part saved me a ton of time so that I can better use my time for SEO. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it write a blog post. So I'm just going to type in blog and I'm going to go to draft a blog post. Now, there's a couple pieces I already have put in here. I'll put those below the video so you can copy and paste those. Number one is going to be an example. You can't steal mine, but you need to put your own in here. If it's a blog post that you've written before, that is going to be ideal, but any form of content will work. You want it to pick up on your tone of voice. You want it to catch on to your personality and those different things. It's going to make this so much easier. Otherwise, it's just going to sound like AI generated content. So give it some sort of example, number one, and then give it an instruction. So I'm saying take the existing transcript, create a thorough blog post. I want them to include headers to assist with the user experience because this is important for SEO. It should also be written in first person from my perspective because sometimes it likes to push out stuff that's says Michelle Knight talks about, and that's not how I write. And then I says summarize the main talking points to provide value to the reader. At the end of the day, those are the key things that I ultimately want. So I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. Again, once you do this, it automatically will save those prompts in there so you don't have to type those in ever again. And then I'm going to give it a once over because I am going to go in and do some minor editing, but you'll see this is going to save a lot of time. They're giving me a title, Scaling Your Business in 2025, 5 Strategic Must-Dos. I like it. I'll probably also throw my topic into Uber Suggest just to get some keywords specifically for my blog. And then it's got a nice intro, not bad. It sounds like me. SEO is a game changer. I say that all the time. So far, I'm not seeing any red flags. It's written in the right way. So I'm good with this. This sounds really great to me. So I'm going to run with this. If I didn't like it, I could go in and do a follow-up or just resubmit it again. Most of the time, first try, I love it. It serves its purpose. So I'm just going to hit this copy button and then we're going to go in and we're going to go into my Google Drive and I'm going to start editing this content. I have a folder inside of my Google Drive that is specifically for the podcast, and I then have another folder for each individual episode. Inside of here, this is where I'm going to have my blog posts. I'm going to upload my audio file, and this is where we also upload my short form videos that we will create once the video is live, and we use a tool called Opus Clip to do this using AI. So what I do is I just go in here and I just create a document and I'm going to copy and paste what I gathered from Descript right here into my document, and then I'm going to start the editing process. Now, I do have an amazing team member for this where she takes my blog post and she puts it over on the Brand Mary blog. But again, editing it here and doing this is going to give you a base for all of your content so you can go back and repurpose it and reference it at any time. And it makes it really easy to just copy and paste this into your blogging platform, especially Squarespace, which is what we use. So now I'm just kind of going through and I'm just going to look for things that I would improve on. So what I do is I go through and I format each individual thing and I just look for opportunities to make it mine. So I clean all this up. I'm going to make this an H2 because we know that this is going to be at H2 over on the blog. And I'm going through and I'm just reading. So in the intro, I always love to have a little bit of storytelling if I can. So I'm going to look for an opportunity for that. Okay. So I just added a little bit of storytelling by saying how I don't feel completely ready for the new year. I asked myself the question if we were to sit down for coffee. I'm just basically setting the scene. The next thing that I do, and this is something I add to all of my templates, and this is a fun thing that I found in Google Docs that I'm obsessed with, is I like to have the bullets. In this podcast, you will learn. Plus, we say listen to the full episode here, watch the full episode here. And so this freaking trick. So if I hit the @ symbol, it's going to pull up a bunch of things for me that I could add. And right here, you're going to see I have a template for episode template for my blog. And if I click on that, it's going to add in the copy right there. Oh my gosh. To do this, all you have to do is essentially create whatever it is you want to create. And then you can right click it, save as a custom building block, and then you can name it. So just wanted to show you that. I freaking love it. I'm going to go in and change those. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm actually just going to highlight that. I do that right at the end. But then it has some of our main pieces in here that we have for every single episode, which is really cool. Then I'm going to go through, I'm just going to clean it up. I'm going to go through, I'm going to read it. I'm going to see if there's anything I want to link to existing content that I have. I'm going to make sure that it's formatted with H2. My links are all relevant and I have a nice conclusion at the end. And then my blog will be ready to go. This process usually takes me about 10 minutes to do. Pretty great, right? I mean, it makes it so easy to create your content and also edit it and get it out into the world. And this is one of the reasons that I say we have a huge benefit to us with these amazing AI tools, especially if we are using them to speed up our process. And so if you have been thinking that creating long form video, YouTube video is going to take you a lot more time, I promise you that does not have to be the case. If you think that creating this type of video is going to be a huge expense in your business, it also doesn't have to be the case. With this setup, I have been able to really elevate my content creation, get back to not only creating podcast recordings that I also put on YouTube, but also create individual training videos just like this, because it makes it easy for me to create when I feel creative, which is so, so important. Now, video content repurposing, like I'm teaching you here in this training video with recording a podcast episode, creating YouTube content, turning that into a blog post, and simplifying the entire process is exactly what I help entrepreneurs do inside of the Authentic Brand Builders Academy. If you want to learn a little bit more about how the Academy can support you, what it is like to have me supporting you just like you would with a one-to-one, and have access to all of my training materials on website SEO, creating your website for maximum conversions, building your brand, podcasts, YouTube recordings, PR, and so much more. It's all available for you inside of the Academy. When you join before the end of this year, you are locking in the current price point for the Academy. If you want to learn more, you can go to brandmary.com/academy. And I've also included the link below, as well as all of these amazing tools for you for easy access. I'll be back soon with another training video. Let me know in the comments if you're excited to start recording content on your own, if you've tried Descript, and if you have another feature that maybe I don't know about. I would love to hear from you, and I'll talk to you really, really soon. Bye.